Sinn Féin at Cork are organising a series of meetings over the next few weeks to mobilise awareness around the family home tax, in which this government will be sending out a series of letters through revenue demands on people to value their properties or to estimate whether the estimate coming out from revenue is correct or not. We're encouraging people to get involved in this campaign to actually send out a very clear message to first the local representatives, both councillors and the backbenchers in particular of the government parties, that you can't get blood out of a turnip. We can't pay, it's an unjust tax, it's an unfair tax, and it's actually hitting the most disadvantaged in Irish society at the moment.
So, in the government's opinion, they've now come up with a system which they believe can't be defeated. No, it's our opinion and the opinion of many others that it can be defeated, and that's why we're holding a series of meetings to outline our own position in relation to that and how we believe it can be defeated. Just in relation to the tax itself, just to give some people an idea of what is actually being proposed, because one of the things that we've noticed when we're out doing the leaflets and we're talking to people is that there is still a lot of people don't understand what is actually being proposed. What is being proposed is the introduction of a property tax, which is a tax on your family home, which will commence in July of this year. It will be for 6 months initially, because it will be a half a year, and then it will be every 12 months after that. And the whole idea behind it is initially the introduction of it is going to be a self-assessment. The revenue are currently waiting to do a mail shot to every home in the state. The thing that's holding it up at the moment is there is an amendment being proposed to the original property tax bill, which was introduced last year. The government have introduced an amendment to that, which is currently before the dial at the moment. It's going to be, the final discussion is on it tomorrow, so there will actually be a vote on the amendment to the original property tax in Dublin tomorrow. And what the amendment does, it widens the exemptions which were contained within the first bill. One of the reasons they've done that, in our opinion, is so much pressure has been put on them by the campaigning groups themselves, even by their own backbench TDs. During the debate last Friday in Leinster House, one of their own TDs stood up and actually asked for this property tax not to be introduced this year. And he put forward a number of alternatives himself which could be implemented, which would negate the introduction of this tax. So it's not just parties of opposition who are saying that this is unfair and shouldn't be introduced. Some of their own backbench TDs now are starting to stand up and say that. We've had people like Peter Matthews, Olivia Mitchell, Mary Mitchell O'Connor. We've had a number from the Labour Party who have said it privately, who have yet to say it publicly. So there is a growing campaign even within Leinster House, and a growing number of TDs who are opposed to this, both on the government benches and on the opposition benches. But just in relation to this one, what they are proposing is that the revenue, as soon as this amendment is voted on, and if it's passed tomorrow, the revenue will be sending out a mail shot to every single home in the state. And the mail shot will basically give you guidelines on how to value your home, and it will also give a suggested value for your home. You then have the opportunity to either agree with the valuation that the revenue is going to impose on you, or if you do not agree with it, you can get an independent assessment done based on the guidelines that they are going to issue. As I said, those leaflets are expected to go out on Wednesday as soon as the amendment is voted on and passed tomorrow, if it is passed. What it is they're going to put it into a number of bands. So for instance, if your home is valued at 190,000 or 160,000, you will fall within a particular band, and you will calculate your tax on the midpoint. So if it's 190 or 160, then the way they're going to calculate it is it's going to be 0.18% of 175,000, because that is the midpoint of the band that you will fall into. In relation to the valuation, then what they're saying is that the valuation will be put in place, it will stay in place until 31st of December 2016. So whether the value of your home goes up or goes down, the value which is imposed on it at the start of July 2013 is the value that will stick right up to the end of 2016. They have included a number of exemptions in it, but the exemptions are so small that practically it's going to mean that everyone who owns a family home is going to be liable for this.
COVID had a very good campaign. It was one of the first groups organised around the county. I call it a very successful campaign. We've lobbied an awful lot of people. We collected signatures. We've passed motions in the town council. We actually swung the one motion against the property charge, the household charge. We brought Fine Gael and neighbour councils along with us. It was unanimous. But that's all it was. It was only really, all it was a talking shop, because it didn't really mean anything. We sent letters to Phil Hogan outlining the motions that were passed, and he just ignored them. Phil Hogan came to Cove. We upped the campaign, civil disobedience. He came to Cove to unveil a monument to the landslide programme in Cove. We were there in force. We heckled him. We shouted him down. We didn't give him a chance to speak, and he ran into his car and off he went. But again, it made no difference. A week later, we had Enda Kenny in Cove. Same thing. He was turning the sod and he upped it and out of Cove fairly quick as well. He didn't get a nice reception. The same thing. It didn't make much difference, because when they go back to the Dáil, back to their own world, they have the numbers, as it was pointed out, and they can do what they want. But this is different. This time we need to get people to come on board and support this, because there is a chance that we can put pressure on the backbenchers, and that's where the difference is.
Started off 4 weeks ago in Ballincollig, and we set up an information stall on the main street where people could come and question us about the property tax, what it meant. The first week out we got some interest, but a lot of people took our leaflet, went off with it. They've come back, some of them have come back, but over the last 3 weeks we feel there's a growing realisation and an anger and especially a bitterness over what's proposed by the government. We had people who were living in old age pensioners living in houses. One lady was living in Haldane in Bishopstown. I can tell you, if you're living in Haldane in Bishopstown, that house is worth about 400 grand. She has €230 a week old age pension. She has a car because there's no shop nearby. She has to get to the church, to run her car, to visit her friends. That takes an awful amount of the €230 a week. When she was finished talking and explaining that if she had to pay this property tax, she just couldn't afford it. And she was an old age pensioner that had done her bit for the state, raised her family, paid her taxes, and now in her later years she was being crucified for that. And
we have a vote tomorrow, and we're voting on the amendment bill. We have loads of amendments put through ourselves. One of our amendments is to repeal the bill, but the possibility is that will be actually thrown out tomorrow. But you must remember that the government currently have the numbers, so they will win the vote tomorrow. But it's up to us in the future to get out there and to campaign, get the knowledge out there, get people on board, put pressure on the government TDs in the House, and hopefully, in our opinion, if we could put enough pressure on them, we have a chance to win this. So it's up to each and everyone that's even here tonight is to leave here, go out, inform people, get people on board, and if everyone comes on board, if we can get enough people on board, we do have an opportunity later on, maybe in June, to actually win the vote.
We're asking people at this stage to come out, make sure that you get involved in the campaign at all levels. We will also be targeting the ministers and government TDs that will be coming into our constituencies and protesting at their offices, at their events, at the public events in which they'll be turning up at. We also see at this stage the disenchantment right across Irish society from those within the public service and the private sector at the moment, and in the whole issue of not being capable of being able to pay. quite clearly at this stage, we're asking people, support Sinn Féin in taking this stance, come out in your communities, join the campaign. We're asking those in other campaigns to join with us, and we likewise will join with them in joining forces to send a clear message to this government: no way are we going to pay.